Hey lovelies! If you're anything like me, you're probably feeling a little more cost conscious these days, especially when it comes to your grocery bill. So today I thought it would be a good idea to share some really simple tips for wasting less food and as a result, saving more money each and every week. You may have also heard that up to 1/3 of all the food produced in the world is going to landfill, which of course can have a really detrimental effect on the environment. So by using these tips, you can be kinder to both the world and your wallet. Now, doesn't that sound like a great deal? My first tip today is all about buying frozen fruits and veggies. Of course, they're really wonderful because they're already frozen, so you don't have to worry about them going bad, but they've got a ton of other great benefits. First of all, they're often a lot more affordable than fresh vegetables, which we can all feel really good about these days. I also love them because contrary to popular belief, frozen vegetables actually retain their nutrients just as well, and in some cases even better than their fresh counterparts. I always like to have tons of frozen fruits and veggies on hand. Classics like corn and peas and carrots I use all the time. I love to have frozen greens, so things like frozen kale and spinach are really wonderful, especially for weeknight cooking when you don't feel like, peeling the stems off of your kale, for example, because they're already dealt with. I always love to have frozen berries on hand for things like smoothies and desserts. And I also love to have things like frozen peaches and frozen cherries in the freezer because they're really, really hard to find out of season. So frozen is a really wonderful option. My next tip is to avoid the temptation of buying in bulk, especially when it comes to perishable foods. I know it's really hard to resist a deal, but the fact is, even if you're getting a great deal on, say, 10 pounds of pineapple, it's only a good deal if you're eating all 10 pounds of pineapple. And let's be honest, that's very unlikely. So you really should only be buying whatever fresh produce you plan on eating through the week. Another great way to ensure you are maximizing your produce's full potential is by enjoying it with the skin on. Things like cucumbers, apples, carrots, sweet potatoes, most regular potatoes can all be eaten with their skin on. And in fact, their skins are loaded with nutrients and fiber, which of course we could all be using more of. So put that peeler away and just enjoy these as they came from nature. I've also heard that mango, orange, and kiwi peels are all completely safe to eat, although I admit I have not tried them myself. Actually, I'll be honest with you, I find it hard to get around the fuzziness of the kiwi peel. Does anyone out there eat the peel of their kiwis? If you do, let me know in the comment section below because I want to hear what your thoughts are on this. Now, if you ever find yourself with berries like these that have sort of seen better days, do not throw them away. You can actually use them to either make stewed berries, which I absolutely love over things like oatmeals and pancakes, or you can make some chia jam like I'm about to show you. Now to get started, I am just going to be removing the tops of my strawberries and cutting them into halves or quarters. I should also mention the tops of your strawberries are completely safe to eat, including the greens. So don't throw these away. You can pop them into your morning smoothie and get an extra hit of nutrients. What is not to like? Once you've got your strawberries prepared, making your chia jam actually couldn't be simpler. You're gonna get started by just getting your strawberries into a small saucepan on the stove. I have it over medium heat. You don't want it any hotter than that because of course you don't want to burn your jam. To those strawberries, you are going to be adding some chia seeds. I'm using black chia seeds here, but you could just as easily use white. There's no difference, to be honest. Next, I'm going to be adding a nice drizzle of honey to this as well for sweetness. You could use regular sugar in this recipe if you want to. I prefer honey, but it's really up to you. And then I'm just going to add the juice of half a lemon. You're just going to bring this mixture to a simmer for between 6 and 8 minutes. You'll start to see those strawberries fall apart and everything will get really thick and syrupy and delicious. Now, you can leave it chunky just as it is, or you can go ahead and use a potato masher to smooth the mixture out a little bit. It's totally up to you. But as this yumminess cools over 10 or 15 minutes, it's going to get really thick and delicious and jam-like. You can store this mixture in your refrigerator for up to a week. Honestly, guys, it is sure to be a hit with the whole family. Now, if you're anything like me, maybe you tend to get a little ambitious during your Sunday grocery shop and buy more greens than you could possibly consume. And what you end up with at the end of the week are a bunch of wilted greens that you need to use. You don't want to throw these guys away because they actually are amazing in things like smoothies or juice. Now, it doesn't matter that they're wilted or they're a little brown or they're looking a little dried out. We are still going to be able to salvage these, and we're going to do that in our blender. Today, I'm adding things like some wilted romaine lettuce, a little bit of fresh parsley that's sort of sad and floppy looking. I've got a chunk of cucumber that Elle couldn't get through this week, and I've also got some arugula that has just started to yellow. Now, I should mention that if any of your greens have gone slimy, that is a good sign it is time to throw them away. But if they're just looking sort of limp and lifeless, that's the perfect time to get them into your blender with a good squeeze of fresh lemon juice and an apple for good measure. Trust me on this one, guys. The apple's going to add some nice sweetness here and make this green drink a lot more palatable. I also like adding just a splash or two of water to help make this easier to blend, and then I just give it all a whirl. Now you have a couple of options here once you've got your juice made. You can either strain out the solids using a sieve or a cheesecloth, and you can make a really sort of pure liquid juice. But I recommend actually enjoying this just as it is. It's got a ton of amazing fiber in it, and of course, fiber is a good thing. Cheers. Come on, guys, you'd pay like 13 bucks for this at a fancy juice place. Think of all the money I just saved you. So if you find yourself with some tomatoes that have seen better days, you don't want to throw them away. I'm actually going to show you how to dry them out in the oven. So what you end up with is something similar to a sun-dried tomato, except it's done totally in the oven. Now you can see these tomatoes are shriveled. They're a little on the old side. They're not moldy per se, but they're definitely not delicious eaten fresh. Basically, you just want to cut your tomatoes in half and then arrange them seed side up on a baking sheet. At this point, these are just about ready to go in the oven. I'm just gonna hit them with a little bit of salt. We wanna add just a touch of flavor to them, and then they're going to head into a preheated oven at 300 degrees Fahrenheit for between an hour and a half and 2 hours. And what you end up with are these amazing little morsels of concentrated tomato flavor. These are super yummy when added to things like salads or pasta dishes, or you can pop them in a food processor with your homemade pesto sauce, and oh my gosh, they add a ton of incredible flavor. Did you know that you can make it so you never have to buy green onions again? Basically, all you need to do is cut off the tips like this and place them in a little vessel of water like this, and you place this on a sunny windowsill. You'll want to change the water out every 1 to 2 days, but what you're going to end up with within 7 days are brand new green onions. You can repeat this process over and over again by just making sure that you're changing the water regularly, and you'll never have to purchase green onions again. You can also do this very same thing with things like celery and most lettuce. All you need to do is cut the base off, place it in some water, and put it in a nice sunny spot. In no time, you'll start to see these little leaves emerge, and that means it is time to replant them into some soil, and they'll actually grow to be brand new veggies. How amazing is that? Now, after cooking a big meal, if you find yourself with a lot of kitchen scraps, which I often do, instead of composting them, consider making a container like this. This is what I call my broth or stock container. I've got some onion skins here. I've got some leftover celery, some carrot peels and tops. I've got some mushroom stems that are really, really flavorful. I've even got the stems from some thyme here that I removed the leaves from. You could do this with rosemary as well. I've done this with broccoli stalks, the tips of green beans. I've even done this with the core of bell peppers. Basically, all I do is put them in a container like this or a zipper bag and then get them into the freezer. I freeze them until I'm ready to make my broth, and then I just load them all into a broth pot like this, cover them with some water, and let them simmer away. After 3 or 4 hours, you have an incredibly flavorful homemade broth that is so easy to make and so affordable. If you wanted to add some chicken to that, you definitely could. A great way to use a leftover chicken carcass is actually to put it in a stock pot like this with veggies and make your very own chicken bone broth. Super flavorful, really, really good for you, and a great way to make sure you are not wasting a single thing. If you're looking for some great broth recipes, of course, I just happen to have some here on the channel. I'll link them in the description box below and you can take a look for them. But this is definitely a winning idea if you are trying to reduce your waste. My next important tip for preventing food waste is to keep your refrigerator neat and tidy. Now, this may seem a little obvious, but the truth is the more organized your refrigerator is, the more likely you are to eat what's inside. In addition, I always recommend storing perishable foods like chopped veggies and fruit in clear containers because the easier they are to see, the more likely you will be to eat them. I also recommend creating an Eat Me First bin, which is a place you can move items that are about to expire to make sure that your family is reaching for those first. If you're looking for some clever ways to get your fridge organized, I just happen to have a video for that, and I will link it in the description box below. My final tip, guys, and I think the most important when it comes to minimizing waste and really maximizing savings, is to always plan ahead. Every Sunday, I plan out my meals for the entire week, and then I create a grocery list to ensure that I'm only buying what I need, which really helps to reduce food waste. If you're looking for some additional help with your weekly meal planning, I really hope you'll check out our site, healthymealplans.com. It's going to allow you to browse through hundreds of recipes, drag and drop them into your weekly meal plan, and then it will automatically generate your shopping list for the week so you know exactly what you need when you head to the supermarket. The best part is it's completely free to use, so you can sign up and start meal planning today. I hope you love it as much as we do. Guys, I really hope you found these tips helpful, and if you have any great ways to reduce food waste, leave them in the comment section below because I always love hearing from you. Thank you as always for watching, and of course if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe because there is lots more deliciousness where this came from.